dreams. It's a very interesting topic. Some people take dreams way too literally too at the same time. And sometimes some dreams are just dreams, nothing more. Yeah, they don't mean anything. A dream doesn't always have to mean something. Sometimes it's a reaction to what's going on in your body, like maybe you ate something that's not settling with you too good in the stomach, so you're feeling a little bit queasy. Your chemical reactions in your body it's like a domino effect. Yeah, so once it gets to the brain, it produces something in an imagery that's reflective of that. So before you know it, you have a really off dream. Yeah. And sometimes the dreams are just symbolic, and sometimes they mean something. Like, say, for example, when some people, when they dream of having sex with somebody they never would have sex with, you know what I mean? Sometimes, a lot of times, I should say, that doesn't mean that they want them sexually. Yeah, what it means is that they really think highly of them, and why it appears in the dream as a sex act is just to make sure there's no misunderstandings. You know, it's freaky in the dream. It's like everything is normal, yeah? But when you wake up, that's when you feel freaked out. Do you see what I mean? It doesn't mean that you want to have sex with that person. That's not what it means. It's a symbolical thing. So don't get too worked up on that. Sometimes people, they'll dream of having sex with animals, even. And this doesn't mean that they're into bestiality. That doesn't mean that at all. It just means that there's something of that animal that represents something like a strength or a weakness or some kind of characteristic, and that this person has that same characteristic. You see what I mean? So that's why in the dream it makes total sense, but then you wake up, you freak out. So it's these kind of things, these imageries are not to be interpreted as literal. Okay? It doesn't mean what you saw. It's symbolic. See, reality begins within. I have to start with that. And the dream world comes from that area, yeah, within you, in your mind. This is where duality doesn't exist. But when people learn duality from their society, this good versus evil thing, when they learn that in the conscious world, then this is not a true reflection of what's inside. So the person is denying. Yeah, it's a type of denial. So that's why when they have dreams, sometimes things may make total sense in the dream, but when they wake up, it doesn't. Okay? A lot of times, this is because the person is dualistic, or he's a linear thinker. A linear thinking is when you only progress. You go from point A to B to C and so on. That's linear thinking. And this is what dualistic people do. Now, in the Lakota ancient world, we were non-linear thinkers. And that is like you go on your path to learn things because you've changed over time. Yes, you think about something you learned in the past, and you think on an experience again. Yeah, and go through it again, and then you might experience something brand new. It was always there, but you change. You can comprehend more, so you can look at something in your past and learn something new. See, that's an example of nonlinear. And another way is to go forward, to go further than the next step, to visualize your future the way you would like it to be, realistically. Okay? And then you enjoy it as if you're already there. Yeah? And then you do that every day for a few minutes. And then you come back, because this process is putting a pattern in your brain. And since reality begins within, this pattern is going to open up inspiration to come to you from within. to help you achieve that. So that's like going forward, further than the next moment. It's going into the future. See, this is nonlinear learning. That's the ancient Lakota way to do that. Okay? So, in our dreams, they don't follow a linear sequence. So we have to remember that. That's why it's really important that you're not dualistic, because when you're not dualistic, you have an easier time to interpret dreams that don't make sense. Because when you're non-linear, you apply that to the dream, because the dream world is deep within you, and this is non-linear. So like I said, sometimes things will happen out of sequence, but it still makes sense. It's just non-linear. And the only way to really understand non-linear is to not think in the dualistic way of good versus evil. Okay? So within, like I said, this is deep within your mind, and this area leads to other places, other spiritual realms. And some of these realms are special. So when you're doing this non-linear process of visualization, this is setting in motion a call to one of these special places from within your mind. And that call will be answered, and that's how you receive inspiration. Yeah? And sometimes you might even get an answer from those areas. So this is how you open up your mind. You don't need a drug to do this. When you use drugs, you're forcing this, and it's not really working the way it should. What you're really doing is you're hallucinating. It's not tapping into the within. Okay? So you're tapping inside your sacred center is what you're doing. This leads to places like a special connection to the earth, other special realms, spiritual realms. And like I said, when you do this visualization, this is tapping into that. It's sending a call out to these special places for assistance. And that's, like I said, that's how you receive inspiration. And sometimes it comes to you in a dream. So this is why sleep is very important. Some people say, that if you sleep 8 hours a day, that you're literally wasting, 1/3 of your life. That's total bullshit. The sleep is important. Our physical bodies need it, for one thing, so that our minds can function in a healthy way. And plus, when you're asleep, this is when you're closest to your sacred center. And if you're doing this visualization thing that I explained, you're increasing your chances of receiving inspiration and healing as well. Yeah? It's a wonderful way to live when you think about it. Yeah? So, as I said, sometimes this help will come in dreams. And sometimes the answer will come in the form of a person. Because lots of times when you dream, let's say in your conscious reality you're concerned about something. Maybe you're in a certain kind of situation and there's something bothering you about that situation. So when you dream, that situation appears as a person. And you're able to understand it better. Maybe you even communicate with it and it talks back to you. And from that you learn something. And you might get the answer on how to solve that situation like that. The situation helped you in the dream. You see what I mean? So when it comes to dreams, you shouldn't be so literal. Just write it down immediately when you wake up, because it's fresh on your mind. So you write it down immediately and then just put it away for a while. And then go do whatever you need to do. Take a shower, shave, brush your teeth, have breakfast, go for a run, or whatever it is you do. Go to your work or whatever. Then when you're coming back home to relax, your mind is now going to get ready for receiving an answer from those special areas where your brain leads to. Yeah? It's wonderful. You think about it. So, our mind has 4 parts. Now, I'm not going to explain each part because that'll take a long time. But people who've been to my seminars and who are my students, they know this already. Yeah? They know the parts and then the Lakota names for it and stuff like that. I'm not going to say that, but the mind does have 4 parts. And when a person is asleep, they go into to some of these areas. And this is where they can receive information. Yeah? And sometimes you might be, maybe you made a certain decision in your life that you're going to do something, and suddenly you start dreaming weird about it. It might even be scary. Yeah? So this is a situation where you better pay attention, because it might be telling you that you made the wrong decision and it's not too late to fix it. Yeah? So when you think of it like that, a nightmare is not really a nightmare. It's trying to help you. Yeah? See, it's because a lot of us grow up in a dualistic environment where we learn things like good versus evil, that when we get these kind of dreams, right away we're quick to judge it as a nightmare. But it's really not. Yeah? See, that's why I said even those, you write them down, because later on you find out it might actually mean something that was actually helping you. Yeah? Now, saying this, you might get an idea of the second Wakantranka. There's more than one. And it's not about which one is better or, which one is the bad one. We don't have that good versus evil concept. The second Wakantranka works in a different way. There's a clue here. I'm not going to give you the answer, but there's a clue here that I just gave to you. Yeah? Anyway, so these nightmares, they're not evil. Okay? They might be warning you, but at the same time, like I said, maybe you're thinking about something, and if you are a dualistic person, your dream might reflect that too. So a nightmare may actually be reflecting duality, and that may scare the living daylights out of you. That's to show you how deadly duality is. So it's not about destroying it. It's about confronting it, learning from it, and trying to make the best out of a situation without judging it. Then you emotionally detach, because you're emotionally developing and you're getting peace from it. But when you don't do that, then you interpret nightmares as things meant to harm you. So sometimes nightmares are reflections of duality. So that's why I said you have to really think. Take time to think about it before you decide what it is. And don't judge it so fast. Dualistic people judge really quick. So they're quick to say, this is a bad thing. Next thing you know, there's songs about it, there's movies and books, based on things like that, and it's all dualistic mumbo jumbo. This is a really interesting topic when it comes to dreams. And sometimes, based on your thought patterns, what you're thinking right now, your mind could go into the future and show you something, but what's about ready to happen. What is about ready to, who are you about ready to meet? Where are you about ready to go, to travel to? Your mind in your dream could show you that based on your current thoughts. So we have this concept of dream travel, where we travel to places that really exist. and we experience everything, all in the dream. Then later on in your life, you might actually end up in those places. It's really cool, yeah. This happened to me more than once, and it's really amazing, yeah, to tell you the truth. But I'll tell you a small one. This is really a tiny one. Yeah. I used to play in a band called Counting Coup with Daryl Lockwood and Willis Whiteman. Daryl is a Mandan Hidatsa Arikara from the 3 affiliated tribes in North Dakota. And Willis is a Northern Cheyenne Arapaho. We were in a band together. One time in the 1990s, we played a New Year's dance in Ogallala on the Pine Ridge Sioux Reservation. And the dance, geez, it just we played until 2:30 in the morning or something like that. They really liked our music, so they wanted us to keep going, and we got extra pay. It was really a good gig, alcohol free, yeah, sobriety event. It was really good. By the time we got packed up and put all the equipment in the van and stuff like that, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. So we were heading back to Daryl's place on the Crow Creek Sioux Reservation, and this is about a 4-hour drive. Yeah, it's really a long drive. That's where I had my car. So Willis was driving because he was wide awake. Daryl was sleeping in the back, and I was sitting in the passenger seat. So we were just talking, and then Willis said, "Go ahead and if you're sleepy, go ahead and nod off. Your head is just bouncing around." So I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "All right." So I rested my head and dozed off. Yeah. And here I dreamt I was still in the van, and we were coming over a hill. It was really foggy, by the way. Yeah, it was hard to see. But the road was clear. Yeah, but it was just really, really foggy. And then we ended in the dream. We came over this hill, and there was a deer standing there. And just as we were about to hit that deer, I woke up. Yeah. I woke up and I said, "Jeez," I said, "Dave, what's wrong?" I looked straight ahead and we were coming up to that hill now. Yeah. I said, "Willis, slow down." I said, "There's a deer on the other side. Slow down." All right, all right, all right, he said. So he slowed down. We slowly came over that hill, and here, sure enough, the deer was standing there. Willis said, "Geez, are we in a twilight zone?" He said, "How'd you know that?" He said, I said, "I just dreamt of it." I said, "I dreamt that we were almost ready to hit the deer, and that's why I really jumped and I woke up." "Well, go back to sleep and warn me some more," he said. "All right," I said. It was just funny, but it was cool at the same time, yeah? So it was an immediate one. It showed it, yeah? The dream showed what was going to happen in the next few minutes if we didn't slow down. Gee, that was freaky, yeah? That was really, 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 really freaky. And just sometimes you dream of something and it's so real and you don't know. You think, no way that could happen. Yeah, there's just no way. No way that could happen. And then things happen in your life. One thing leads to another, so to speak. And you end up doing that activity. It might be a year or two or whatever later, or maybe even a week later, but things just seem to fall into place. Yeah, you never thought you would do something like that, and you end up doing it. It's like one thing leads to another. Yeah, like for example, I know somebody who was not a traditional guy, and in fact, he was very Christian, and his hair was short, and he really believed in the Bible, gung ho. here, one time I was visiting him here. He said, "Geez, David, I have a weird dream." I said, "What happened?" He said, "I dreamt I was in a sweat lodge ceremony." He said, "I never went into one before." He said, "I don't believe in that." He said, "I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I don't believe in these Indian religions." But in the dream, I was sitting inside the sweat lodge ceremony. And he said, "I never thought that would happen. And that's just not me." He said. I said, "Hey, you never know. Yeah, be prepared." "But I don't see it happening." He said, I don't think like that." He said, "Let it go." I said, "Just let's see what happens." He said. Next thing you know, one thing led to another. His mother got sick, and she had to have an operation, a major operation. And there's a possibility that she might die. She was in the hospital. She was going to have her operation the next day, and he was really concerned, because she could die. And just out of the blue, a medicine man called him and asked him, "Would you like to come to a sweat lodge ceremony?" He said, "I can pray for your mom." And this guy, not the medicine man, but the guy, let's call him Bob, okay? Bob. So it's Bob's mother that's going to have the operation, all right? So Bob, he had no idea how to get to this medicine man's place. In fact, he didn't even have a car. So he said, "How do I get to your place?" And even then, he said, "I don't know how to get there." And he said, "Don't worry." He said, "If you want to come," he said, "there'll be a place for you." He said. So he said, "Okay." So soon after he hung up the phone, he got another phone call. It was from his cousin. And this happened like in the 1980s, okay? This is before cell phones and things like that. So his cousin called him from a payphone, he said. And he asked Bob, he said, "Hey, Bob, you want to go to a sweat lodge ceremony? I'm going to," he said the medicine man's name. So Bob said, "Yeah, maybe," he said. So his cousin said, "I'll be right there." He said, "Okay." So his cousin showed up in about 10 minutes, and his cousin said, "I was driving to this medicine man's place, and," he said, "I just got the urge that maybe I should call you." He said, "I don't know why." So that's why I turned around. He said, "I turned around and came to the nearest payphone and gave you a call." "So I don't know." He said, "It seemed like something told me I'm supposed to bring you." He said. So Bob said, "That's cool." He said. So they traveled for about a good hour and a half to get to this medicine man's place, because he lives way out in the country. And so they went in. The medicine man said, "It's good to see you. I'm glad you came." He said, "We're just about ready to start." Bob said, "I never did this before." So the medicine man said, "Don't worry." He said, I'll help you out. And don't worry." He said, don't be scared. Everything is peaceful." So Bob said, "All right." So he went in. I won't tell you the specifics, but it was a very special event. Yeah? Lots of things happened that are very, very supernatural inside the ceremony. When the ceremony was over and Bob came out, he felt like he was walking on air. And he really felt good. He was all calm and peaceful, and he knew everything is going to be all right. Yeah? And it was. The next day, another relative came to pick him up, and they drove him to the hospital. And it's about 2.5-hour drive away, because it's a big city hospital. Yeah? Reservation hospitals can't handle special surgeries, so they had to go to the city. So the operation was a success. And Bob's mother lived. She survived. And days later, I had another visit with Bob, and Bob said, I said, I never thought that would happen. Yeah, to go into a sweat lodge ceremony. He said, I think different now. He said, it seemed like I changed. He said, and now I know what's really important. He said. So maybe about 5 years past, Bob has long hair, wears it in braids, learned his language, and he returned to the old way. He's not a Christian anymore. Yeah? So, before I left for Germany, I talked with him, and he said, I never thought I would become like this, he said. So you see, his dream showed him a scene from the future based on his current thought patterns, and he just went with it. He didn't try to fight it. He just let it go, and it happened. Yeah. So now he's a traditional man. He's a Lakota speaker now. So sometimes things are like that, yeah. And he said in the dream, he wasn't scared. When he was in the sweat lodge, he said he wasn't scared. And so I said, so don't fight it. Just let it be. Just leave it alone. I said, don't even think about it. Just keep doing what you're doing in your life and see what happens. And sure enough, it came to pass. Yeah, it happened. So the scene did come true. It was in a later on, that he was in the sweat lodge ceremony singing some songs in Lakota, and it was during the winter time, and he realized, hey, this is the scene. Yeah. So, when you think something is impossible, don't judge it. Just go, wow, that is different. Yeah. And just let it go. If it's a good thing, yeah, just let it go. Just continue doing what you're normally doing. Go about your life in the normal way that you do, and it'll come to pass. Because that scene you saw was based on your thought patterns at that time. If you change those thought patterns, that scene's going to alter. You see what I mean? So the dream world is really amazing, and we could talk for hours on that. Yeah, like dream traveling, dream sharing, and this all fits Lakota customs, ancient customs concerning the mind, and going through these different areas of the mind, and traveling to other realms while we're asleep. All this is possible in dreams. You can receive help and stuff like that. But you have to be careful. Yeah? You have to really be careful, because some of these realms are not healthy. You cannot be a dualistic thinker. You cannot think in a linear way, because if you do, and you could get tricked by these things that are from the unhealthy realms, because they're going to fool you. They're going to work on your duality. They can appear as people you know. They can sound like them because they're reading your mind. So all your memories they know, and they can imitate that person. Think about that. Yeah. Thank you very much for taking time to tune in and listen wherever you are, whenever you do this. We don't have a word for goodbye. We say until next time, which is Doksha Ake.